If someone asked me how do I identify myself, I'd say I am of mixed heritage. So I've got mixed heritage. I would never say that I'm half white. Never say that I'm half white, because I don't think my mum's white. My mum's not even white. No. No, I think many people think she's all sorts of things, but they never think she's white, and they certainly wouldn't think she's English. So she looks Greek, Turkish, Pakistani, Afghani. She looks anything that is not white. That's broad, and the only time you would know where she was from is if you heard her speak. I mean, you might hear a little Mauritian accent, but that's the only way. So many people speak to her in Bangladeshi and speak to her in Hindi and speak to her in all sorts of languages, and she's just like, I'm not from your country, I'm British, I'm not from your country. And then she gets all narky, and then she'll say things like, these bloody Somalians coming over here taking all of our jobs and all. So again, she's taken on the role that was thrust upon her. You know, it's like the classic bullying thing, isn't it? But more often than not, they will just assume that you're white. And it's the same for he's mixed race. He was standing at, when he used to do some cabbying or whatever, and this cab driver was going, all these West Indian bastards and Africans, this, that and the other. And he said, whoa, hang on, let me just stop you there. My dad's from Jamaica. But even if his dad wasn't from Jamaica, even if he was just pure white, he should have been able to stop. Stop there. Don't assume anything about me before you start spouting all your prejudice. No matter whether it's where you're from, if your history is, so if you're an Aborigine in Australia, you're black. But there's all different kinds of black culture. There's all different. Brazil, there's loads of people. Cuba, there's all the whole world. There's all different types of black people celebrating, just the same as there are different types of white people celebrating. They're not a homogenous group. We are not a homogenous group of people. So, in terms of my mum, her dad's mum was black. His dad was French. All the children looked dark, apart from my mum and her sister, auntie. Was dark, and they've all got quite wide noses apart from mum, really. More Aboriginal. To me, they look like those little kids in the picture, the black and white picture. To me, they look like mixed race Aboriginal children, to me. I think it's a real misconception of what it is to be, because Africa is a huge continent, and you look at people from Ethiopia, Somalia, we've already talked about the Fulanis, they're all this colour, they're pure black. Black does not necessarily mean that you're dark, and I think that's or that your features are going to be wide. Well, it depends, because if I was in Africa, when I've been in Africa before and I've been inundated with attention because my skin is fair, I look like the Fulani tribe, so they're quite kind of my sort of features, but this complexion, tall, they're nomadic tribe. When I went to Gambia, went to this woman's restaurant. She had a restaurant in her house, and we went in, and I was thinking to myself, her feet are black like that, and her face was like this, and I said, "Oh, are you a Fulani?" Because I was, all curious about the Fulani. She says, "No." She says, "I was dark like her before I put the cream." So she's bleaching her skin because get herself a better boyfriend, get herself a bit of money, feel more pretty. And then there'd be people like me who would be thinking, if I was darker, I'd probably be prettier. But a black person has had to imitate white culture all their lives. So it's a different thing. If we hadn't had slavery, it would be a different story. But black people have had to accommodate white culture all their lives. So I live here and I have to fit in. I have to fit in. No one's fitting in around me. I'm fitting in and I'm assimilating because it is our history to do that. It is our history. White people don't have to do it because they've dominated for so long. So they don't have to do it. They don't feel the need to do it. And you often hear white people go abroad and say, like when I was in Gambia, this woman comes out and she goes, I've been looking out my bedroom window and all I can see is black people everywhere. What did she expect in Africa? But in the hotel, it was all white people. And some of them were too frightened to go out of the hotel. And sometimes one of the things that I always think is that sometimes young black men particularly, are angry, very angry, and they don't even know why they're angry. They don't even know what they're angry about. But it's because they've inherited the anger. The anger's come down and down. And the only way people can appreciate it, because I can't even talk about it too much, that's the other thing. I can't even talk about the frustrations of being a black person living here to white people too much because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it about their town. They don't want to know about my frustrations in their town. You know, it's not because they're horrible, but it's just because people choose not to they don't want to see it. They don't want to even think. I remember when you were little, we had this Polish tenant who came to stay. She was blonde, very blonde, and she was really fond of you. And she, you said, oh, Agatha, this, Agatha. And one day you were in the bath, and you said, I want you. You said to me, I want you to have hair like Agatha. And I said, oh, do you? And you said, yes, she's got lovely yellow hair and she's got white skin. And I was like, oh, really? Well, I love my skin and I love my hair and I love you and you are half of me. Right? That's how I dealt with it. But when I went out the bathroom, I burst into tears. I burst into tears because I had to deal a lot with people asking me all the time if you were my son. Well, I don't know, because there's people been having kids for donkeys, haven't they? With all, you know. But like at your nursery, most of the staff were black. I turned up to pick you up and I came to her and said, I've come to pick up my son. And she said, and he is? And I said, Reuben. And this black woman looked at me and she went, of course he is. Of course he is. Like that. But it was almost like she had to sort of, yeah, got it, yeah. Who else is going to have that experience when they come in to pick up their kids? Or you walking down the road with a buggy in Italy and people stop going, and Grandad, my dad, and you, blonde hair, blue eyes, because you didn't have dark hair, blonde hair, looked like we kidnapped you. And be walking down the road and people would say, ma chi è lui? And my dad would say, good evening, this is my grandson and this is my daughter. And they'd be going, but how? How is he? My dad says, it's my daughter and this is my grandson. Again, I'll ask the question, who is walking down the road with their child, minding their own business, and this person here, with their arrogance, and ignorance, decides to shout, about what they're seeing and how peculiar it is and what's going on. Who would I do that to somebody if they were walking down the road with a mixed race child? I can't tell you how many times it happened. I lost count completely. People are fucked up. It's all fucked up. This is the legacy of slavery, I keep telling you. The closer you are to the oppressor, the better you are as a person. You're more likely to get a job. You're going to be more clever. People are going to treat you nicer. Like I said to you before, if you walk into a room and you look like that, like me, yeah, or a little bit fairer, but you've got kinky hair, you've got broad features, everybody knows that you're somehow mixed, okay? If you walk into a room full of predominantly black people, they might call you light skin, they might call you red, they might say something to you, but they embrace you as black. If you walk into a room full of white people, particularly white men, they're not going to embrace you as white. How are they going to do that? They're not going to do that. That just doesn't happen. I don't know. You'd have to ask them. I don't know. But I've never heard of a white person, a black person going in who's mixed race, half white, Caucasian, going into an environment where full of white people where they embrace him as white or her. It is depending on what they look like. Yes, it is. But they could still be half white. He's half white. He's half white. He might choose to identify as black. And black people might say to her, what? But once she tells them, okay, fine. We are all mixing up here. This is great. This is wonderful. This is what should be happening. I don't think there's a resistance. I just think people don't even think about it. I think some people don't even think about it, and some people choose to ignore it. Some people would rather not see it. Well, we're so rich in our makeup, you know. Mixed race people accept, in the main, accept each other however we accept each other, don't we? So that's how it is. If you said to me, like, his dad is mixed race, why not? Why wouldn't he be? I wouldn't be thinking, oh my God. Well, okay, fine. There's a little girl in my class called... I'm looking at this girl, and I'm just looking at her. She's tiny, really small little nose like my mum's, and got nice, beautiful lips. But her body, the way she moves, the way she speaks, the way her mouth is and everything. I said, so you mixed race? And she laughed, said, yes. And when I saw her dad is dark, but she doesn't look dark. She looks like my mum's complexion, got thin hair like my mum, I used to even hate my own name. I used to hate my name. I used to think, oh, God, I couldn't spell my name. And every time I was at school, people would be like, what kind of name's that? And constantly. In Mauritius, there's loads of people called Yolande. In France, there's loads of people called Yolande. Bastide, everyone's called Yolande Bastide in France. It's a really common name, yeah. But here, it's just not, and the amount of people go, I can't even say that. Like, when I was at work today, someone said to me, what's your name? I said, what's your name? She said, Pat. And she said, and what's your name? I said, Yolande. And she said, oh, that's a nice name. I said, yes. I had to say it twice. And I said, most people call me Yo. I just say Yo. And I said, and actually, sometimes when I say Yolande, it sounds strange to me. My own name. Because my middle names probably sound less odd than my first name to people listening. Maryse. That's Dominique. Yolande Dominique Maryse. If someone said, what's your name? I said, oh, Dominique. Then they'd probably be able to get it. But Yolande, I don't know why people can't. And it's not that unusual, is it, really?